Yo, we got microphone. You guys can hear me? See what's going on? How's it going, everybody? Just double check. Yep, seems like the microphone's working. We're going to double check to make sure the guitar's working because I ran out of time setting up. Seems like everything seems to be working. So, just so you guys are aware, the streaming software I use doesn't show who's posting on Facebook, so I don't know who you are. It just shows up as Facebook user. So, if you want to make sure I know who you are, just put your name in before you type anything. Twitch and YouTube, everything shows up normally, so it's weird. I don't know why. It's funky, but whatever. It is what it is. So, we're going to talk about recording with the Pod Go today. Couple things you need to know. Number one is I'm running Pod Go into an interface. I'm not coming out the USB outs, but all of the settings we're going to use are going to be the same thing. We're still going to use inputs 1 and 2 on the DAW, okay? Because that's the way it works on the Pod Go if you're running via USB. And we're going to talk about, it's mainly going to be about recording. So it's going to give you guys a basic idea of what we do in the business when we're recording guitars and get good stuff. So I feel like I'm really short right now. Hold on. God, that is so much better. I was gaming earlier and I was relaxing. So give me a break. So for those of you that are familiar with my presets and stuff, we're going to be using the Leona preset today, which is getting an update, and it's going to get a name change. It's going to wind up becoming the Constantine preset, and I've already made the updates on Helix, but they're not out yet. So I need to go in later on today, and I'm going to tweak the Pod Go presets, and I'm going to change those up too. So there's going to be a new download. If you have downloaded it from the website, I'm going to open it up so that you can re-download it with all the new settings. It's going to be the same thing, though, as far as the cabinets. You're still going to have to get the Bogren Digital IRs for the rhythm tone. The rest of the tones are going to be, the rest of the IRs and cabinets are going to be included. But the rhythm tone is the Bogren Digital, or however the hell he says his last name, Bogren. I think it's Bogren. Digital, bold and beautiful, EQ1. It's my favorite IR. As you can see, it sounds amazing. That preset is that preset's got that impulse on it, PV, Panama. Just a vicious sounding preset. The note clarity. Haha. There's also the lead preset. You can get, again, you can go to the website, jasonconstantine.com. Can't even talk today. Oh, my God. And you can check out the presets. There's a link for Jason's personal presets, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. You can go get them. It's like, I think it was $5. I don't remember. I don't remember. But everything on the website, 75% off. You can go type in the code none more black. I'll put it out there so you guys can see it. None more black. And this is going to go over to YouTube. And then it's going to go over to Twitch. And of course, Facebook won't let me post it, but it's none more black, NONEMOREBLACK, with the N, the M, and the B, all caps. Okay, so let's get into recording with the Pod Go, shall we? Just so you know, I'm going to show you guys the camera angles we got. So we got this, so you can see my ugly face. We have full-on pod. We got, well, right now that's Pod Go Edit. We got Pod Go Edit. We got Proly Tools. We have a close-up on the screen on the pod, which isn't really all that great. And then there's my big old studio cam, so you can see my fat ass. Hi, how are you? But, so let's quick go over to Pro Tools, and let's show you guys what we're going to do here. So, this is pretty much the same in every DAW, but in Pro Tools specifically, you can hit Control-Shift-N. So what you're going to do is you're going to add a new mono. You're going to add a new mono track. Okay. In fact, we're going to add 2 new mono tracks. And we're going to name this one GTR left and GTR right. Okay. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a stereo instrument track because I'm going to break out some drums. We're going to do a little bit of a drum program. Now, I have my Pro Tools set up to not color anything, but most likely in yours, it's going to give all your tracks colors. So I'm just going to go in here and give that one of those. And I like my guitars to be red, so I know where they are. Okay. Then the other thing we're going to do is we're also going to add a bass track, which is going to be a single mono track. We're going to call this bass. Okay. And we're going to go in, and I like my bass to be yellow. Just helps me when I'm going through the mixer later. You know, when you have like 400 tracks in your tune, you can just scroll through real quick and figure out where everything is based on color. So depending on your DAW, the setup will be a little bit different, but you should be able to go in and color your tracks to help keep everything straight. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to go and grab my instruments and I'm going to grab my drum program. Where the hell is it? Addictive Drums. And I'm just going to lay in a boring old beat. So we got Addictive Drums. And I'm going to and we're going to we're going to set it to, we're going to go to the kit. We're going to go to beats. We're going to sing tempo. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to find something like a heavy rock kind of thing. For those of you that have never used Addictive Drums, it's great because you can just lay in something real quick. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Do that close. Still a little too crazy. That's kind of cool. And then plus you have all the cool different drum sounds that are built into the system. So if you can do like the Studio Rock kit. So that's kind of cool. So we're going to use that. So what you can do in Addictive is you can take this and you can just drag it right into the song which is cool. And then we can open this up a little bit. And we could I'm just going to copy and paste that over and over. We're not going to do something super long here. We're going to do just a basic tune. Make sure that's lined up to the grid. So we'll do like 8 or 16 bars. And on that last one, for the hell of it, so let's see what we got. So I'm going to put a fill in there because you can come in here and you can find fills. Also, they're all programmed in there. Nope. Too fast. That seems cool. I'm going to take that, put that at the end of that bar right there. So now it's going to give us this. Yeah, I don't like that either. It doesn't match up right. That's better. It's got a better feel. Close enough, right? And then we'll just throw that fill at the end here too. And we're just going to loop that section. That's what we're going to do. So let's come up with a cool riff. So let's look at the guitar tone I'm using real quick. This is going to be my Lewin preset that's available on my website. I just got to figure out where the hell, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. So this is going to be my Leona rhythm preset. And as you can see here, we got a Screamer 808 up in front of the amp. Gain all the way down, level maxed out. You know, kind of the typical way you use a tube screamer just to tighten things up. We have a PV Panama amp with the drive on 4, bass on 7, mid on 5, treble on 7, presence at 5.5, channel volume at 7.6, master volume at 4.0, sag, hum, ripple, bias, all of that are pretty much defaults. I got a little bit of extra EQ going on. I got a little bit of a 2K bump here. Got a little bit of a 1K bump. I pull out some of the lows. And that's going to give you so what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to record a riff over this. Okay. So I'm going to drag that here real quick. And I'm going to give myself a click track. In Pro Tools, you have to create your click track. So that gives me a click, and I'll have a 4 track to get in, and we're going to record a riff. I think that's what we'll go with. Nice, something nice and simple, nice and easy. And if you notice, the guitar tone is completely dry. There's no delay, there's no reverb. It's literally just amp and cabinet. And the reason for this is when we record the big bands in the studios, the guitar tones are dry. Unless you're somebody like Edge or some of the dudes in Linkin Park that use effects on the track. When Van Halen recorded his stuff back on the day, everything was wet. But nowadays, with modern recording, we go in and record all the guitars dry, because later on, it just gives us a little bit more flexibility as far as effects. Now, every DAW has a ton of effects, okay? Whether it's built in or you go and you buy effects, whatever it happens to be. You got reverbs, you got delays, you got choruses, you got modulations, just like you do in the Podgo. So you can use the choruses and the delays and the reverbs and things like that later on. One of the other things we tend to do is we tend to leave rhythm guitars dry, especially in the hard rock and metal context. You leave your tone completely dry on the rhythm tracks. It gives it a bigger, wider space. And the other thing that we do is we double track. So I'll give you an example of how we do that. We're going to go in here. We're going to record a riff real quick. Make sure that's, yep, that's picking up the way it should be. I'm just going to mute that so I don't hear my little bit of latency. Now let's see if I can remember what I played so I can double it. That's going to be the fun part, isn't it? So as you can see, we recorded that. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here into my mixer. And I'm going to pan this one to the left. Then I'm going to pan my new one. I'm going to record it to the right. This is going to give me a nice big stereo spread. That's what she said. And let's see if I remember. Now, if you look, I did this on purpose so you can see what's going on here. Always check in your DAW to make sure you are connected to the correct input on your interface. I see a lot of guys posting questions in a lot of recording forums about, well, I recorded one track and on my second track now I'm not getting anything and I don't know why. You always got to check your input. Make sure your input is set to the correct input. So now let's do that for real. Now, it's not the tightest thing in the world. And just for shits and giggles, double click this track real quick. I'm going to put a little kick drum and a crash cymbal just to finish it off. Because I'm anal like that. So we'll go in here, open this up a little bit to velocity. Close enough. And then we'll do a little trim on this. Clean that up nice and nice. I'm really not feeling that drum sound either, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change that drum sound up a little bit. See what that sounds like. Not liking that either. Not really good stuff going on here. Where's my typical one I don't really use? Yeah, I'm a pain in the ass. I know. That's better. I am using Pro Tools. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to grab my bass guitar. My wife just coughed. Sorry, my wife's bass guitar. I'm going to grab my wife's bass guitar. Turn that volume down real quick. And then another thing we're going to do, we're going to go and we're going to make a bass preset. And then I'll upload the bass preset so you guys can use that too. So let me tune this up real quick. If you guys have any questions, now is the perfect time. Now I just have to remember which guitar I was using. Standard 440. I'm going to tune this bad boy up. Your question doesn't have to be about recording. It can be about the Pod Go. Or it could just be about recording. It's totally up to you guys, whatever you want to do. But these live streams are always more fun when you interact. So go ahead. Ask me a question, God damn it. This bass. Bass needs a setup. And I'm using the tuner on the Pod Go. It works great. All right, so let's go in and dial in a bass tone, shall we? So we're going to do this using Pod Go Edit. For those of you that don't use Pod Go Edit, I have a video on my YouTube. I use a lot of the stock cabinets in my Pod Go. I can't see who's, unfortunately, with Facebook doesn't show me who's asking the questions, so I can't say your name. I'd like to. But somebody's asking, how does the Pod Go sound direct into a PA? Are the built-in IRs or cabinets good enough? Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, the built-in cabs are cool. I mean, I make IRs because I'm kind of biased in that way. You know, in that I'm like, well, you should buy good IRs. I do. I mean, Owen Hammer makes great ones. Chop Tones makes great ones. There's so many killer companies out there making great IRs. Lancaster Audio is awesome. God, there's so many companies making killer IRs. You know, there's my IRs. There's a bunch of free ones on my website you can try out if you want. We have a Facebook group as well called Podgo Users. Just look for Podgo Users Uncensored on Facebook, and I give away a 21 IR pack to anybody who joins or anybody who subscribes to my YouTube. You guys come over to the Discord. There's another link in our Discord. We have a Discord. We have a Facebook group. We do the whole thing. You know, we talk about Podgo all the time. I have groups for Helix, blah, 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 all that stuff. I mean, but Chad's group's awesome. Chris's group is awesome. You know, the 30,000. It's a killer group. You know, there's a lot of great information in those groups. You know, but our group is smaller. We're just about at 1,000 members. So it's a little easier to try and get questions answered in, you know, if it's a very specific thing. You know, the big groups tend to get a lot of, and it's not the guys who run the group's fault. You know, there's just a lot of people out there with opinions who don't know what they're talking about. For those of you that are new to watching with the stuff I do, I'm very real about shit. I'm not going to give you any bullshit. I'm not going to hand you bullshit. I'm not going to try and tell you something that's not true. That's not what I do. You know, I cuss. My videos aren't great quality, and I don't give a damn because I'm here about giving you information. I'm here about helping you guys get the best sounds you can get out of your gear. That's what this is all about. It's the most important thing. It doesn't need to be fluffy and fancy lighting, even though I got all these cool colored lights in my studio now. But I'm just here to pass off information. Okay, that's the only reason I'm here. You know, I'm not gonna try and I'm gonna try and sell you stuff, but I'm not gonna try and I'm not gonna make it the priority. By the way, now that I've just said that, I might as well whore out my IRs. Right now, everything on my web store is 75% off. None More Black at checkout with a capital N, a capital M, and a capital B. Yes, Spinal Tap reference. None More Black. Because Spinal Tap rocks. Because Nigel Tufnell is the best guitarist in the world. Kicks Eddie Van Halen's ass. Kicks Joe Satriani's ass. Steve Vai. Nigel is the best. Ever. Ever. If you don't understand this, just burn your guitar. Just burn it. Burn it. Get rid of it. Burn it. You don't deserve to play your instrument if you don't understand. Nigel Tufnell is the guitar god. For those of you that have never seen Spinal Tap, go see Spinal Tap. It is the greatest mockumentary you will ever watch in your life. It's incredible. Best movie ever. And a couple of guys that I've worked with are in that movie, which is really funny, too. But anyway, let's get back to dialing up a bass tone over here. And we're going to go to this screen here. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go grab a blank preset. Blah, blah. Do I have a blank preset around here? I have so many presets in this damn thing. So, we're going to go down here, and I'm just going to grab a random preset. That's the Dirty Acoustic preset. There's a bass preset. Let's see what that sounds like. No. Hit the wrong thing. Damn it, I never use this damn thing. Oh, yeah, that's right. Just go like that, and that gives you a new preset. Oh, so we're going to turn the expression pedal off. We're going to turn the wah off. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put a compressor in the loop. So we're going to put a compressor in, and I'm going to go with LA Studio Comp because it's my favorite compressor in the Pod Go. So let's see what we're getting here. Let's just bring it up to level a little bit. Still got some dynamics. So that's pretty good. Next thing we're going to put in the chain is we're going to put the amp. I'm probably going to go with the Ampeg SVT because it's my favorite. SVT normal or SVT 4 for this track. Let's do the 4. And then for the IRs, what are we looking at? We're looking at the Ampeg 8. All right, we got to bring that output down. Master volume down. We're going to go ultra high. No, I don't want to assign that. Let me turn that on. You do not need, for those asking which DI box, the question is, which DI box do you recommend for going direct into PA? What is the difference between balanced and unbalanced? I will definitely be trying out your IR packs. Thanks. So, you don't need a DI box with the Pod Go. You can literally come directly out with a quarter inch to TRS jack if you'd like. I tend to use a DI box just because it makes life easier for the sound guys where I'm playing. I mean, if you guys really can't see it, I'm gonna see if I can show it to you guys real quick. If we go over to which camera is it? It's this one. If we go over here, I'll give you a quick glimpse into the pedal board and how I'm rocking this. So, it's kind of dark, but I think you guys will be able to see it. So with my pedal board, I'm going to have to move my board a bit. Ah, there goes my camera too. Damn it. Didn't want to do that. That's all right. I'll fix that in a minute. But as you can see, over here on my pedal board, I have 2 little DI boxes by a company called Rapco. Those come out of the main left and right and go to front of house. So I run quarter inch out from Pod Go into these, and then these go to front of house. It just makes life easier, you know, when you're playing certain places. I find making things easier for the sound guy is gonna make things better for you and your band. You know, I'm gonna run this cable. Can you run this to your snack? Why? Just whatever cables he's got laying around. Plug them in your DI box, good to go. I also have set up on this, I don't know if you can see it, but I have more Baby Bomb power amp, which can go to a cabinet. So this is I think it's 40 watt power amp that can power a guitar cabinet. The way my pedal board is set up is so that no matter what situation I run into with Pod Go, I can get a signal, whether I have to run into a cabinet that's there and they don't want to run a DI, whether I want to run a DI and a cabinet, I can do both. This comes out of the amp out. And I have a volume control here that I built myself. This controls the volume of the amp out on the Pod Go. So for those of you that don't know, the amp out on the Pod Go is not controlled by the master volume. That's on the Pod Go. Let's see if I can get this kind of set back up again so you guys can see what the hell is going on. So the amp out on the Pod Go is not connected to the Pod Go's volume control if you set it to pre-cab IR. So in order to fix that, I built this volume box so that I have a volume control. It's just a pot with, it's just a pot inside a little case. I bought it off Amazon for like $10. But as far as DI box, if you want to keep your rig small, like this is a standard pedal train, the normal size pedal train, the one that's been around forever. You can use those Rapco DI boxes. They're like $20 on Amazon. And they're nice and small and compact, and you could put 2 of them on a board. It makes it about the size of a normal guitar pedal. You can toss 2 of them on your board. I like them. They work great. They sound really good. You don't have to go crazy. A lot of people think, you got to spend all this money on crazy, Countryman custom DI box, blah, 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 and all this money. Listen, Are you recording an album that's going to be Grammy nominated? Are you sitting there and are you recording, are you recording Steve Vai? Are you recording Brett Garsted? Are you recording Neil Schon? Robert Fripp? Al Di Meola? No, you're recording yourself in your bedroom. People talk about all this recording stuff, all about, well, you got to have a great interface and you got to have a great this and you got to have a great that. I'm telling you right now, I have a record right now that I worked on that's the top 40 on the charts. Debuted at number 39 2 weeks ago on the Billboard top. We recorded 3/4 of the background vocals on that record on this microphone through this interface, which is a Scarlett 18i20. It's expensive because it has a lot of inputs, but it's a Focusrite. It's the same inputs as this. Is this my 2i4? Yeah, this is my 4i4. This interface is about $200. They make one called the 2i2, and they make one called the Solo. I think the Solo runs $100, and I think the 2i2 is $150. The preamps in these things are good enough. They're great. They work awesome. All this stuff about converters and amazing preamps and blah, blah, don't get me wrong. Having awesome 1073 Neve 1073 preamps and a killer analog board to record stuff through, it gives your recordings character. It doesn't make it sound better. I can record a professional sounding album on Reaper with just the stock plugins. It's all about learning how to do it. You have to sit there. You have to learn how compressors work. You have to learn how the EQ works. You have to know what frequencies make things sound good and what frequencies make things sound bad. That's really the trick. It's not about gear. Get that out of your head. I have used SM57s, the $99 mic, the best $100 you could spend for your recording studio at home. The SM57. You can put that microphone on anything. You can record vocals. You can record drums. You can record bass. You can record trumpet, tuba, trombone, violin, viola, anything you want using that one mic. Now, is it a neutral sounding mic? No. It's got its sound. But the way that mic is EQ'd and the way that mic is set up makes it great for any sorts. When I was younger, I used a set of SM57s as overheads on a drum kit. Sounded great. Sounded fine. With no problems. It's less about the gear and more knowing how to manipulate what you have and EQ things properly in order to make it sound good. That's the most important thing. You don't want to have a lot of low end in your guitar tone because then it eats up all the frequencies of the bass. You don't want to have too much sub. So there's two ways you can go about this with the low end on a song. Some people put all the sub in the kick drum. Other people put it in the bass guitar. I like it in the bass guitar because the bass guitar is a little bit more consistent, so you don't get that pumping low end. Some people like that pumping low end thing. I don't personally. But that's just more advanced recording stuff. But just remember, what you have right now, even the interface that's in your Pod Go, is good enough to make great sounding recordings. Don't let anybody tell you got to spend all this crazy money in order to get great recordings. You don't. You can use the stock plugins in your DAW. You can use Reaper. You can Pro Tools, Studio One. Stay away from Audacity. Audacity's a piece of crap. Don't use Audacity. If you're using Audacity, shoot yourself in the foot right now. Don't use Audacity. Go get Reaper. While it's not free, you can use it on a trial basis forever till you start selling your music and making money. And then at that point, it's only $60. It's a great DAW. I just don't use it because I work on a lot of professional records, and it's just easier for me to use Pro Tools, which is what 99.9% of the sessions I mix and master come to me as. It's the only reason I use Pro Tools. There's no difference in sound. They all sound the same. So don't think that if you buy a cheap DAW versus spending the big money on Pro Tools, that's the difference between a professional recording and why your recording doesn't sound so professional. was going to say like crap, but I don't want to go there. It's all about just knowing how to use what you have on hand in order to make it sound its best. So let's get back to some recording some bass guitar, shall we? As far as the input, I don't do just below clipping. I actually go a little bit lower than that. So if I can. So on the, I don't know, can you see that? I really don't have a way to show that to you, unfortunately. But I try to just keep the signal in the green. If you get into the yellow, it tends to clip a little bit depending on your DAW. Pro Tools has a thing that fixes that automatically, and so does this Focusrite interface. But I try and stay in the green as much as possible. Just 2-3 bars of green depending on your interface. You know, if it's one of like the 4i4, it's gonna light up green around the edges of the input knob. Try to make sure it doesn't go into the yellow. That's enough signal, you know, to get it so it's clean. You got to realize, while you need to worry about things like gain staging, it's not going to kill you if a signal is a little bit too low. It's not going to kill you. All right, so let's get back to dialing up a bass sound, shall we? Okay. So I'm on the Ampeg SVT4. Now what I like to do is, since we're kind of doing a rock thing here, I'm going to take an extra pedal and I'm going to move it to the front here. I'm going to go with the Obsidian because I really like that for distortion. It's the dark glass, basically. The Obsidian 7000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here into the 500 hertz. I'm going to suck that out. I'm going to put some 1.5K back in. I'm going to put a little bit more drive in it. And we're going to blend it about 50-50. Bring up the level on the distortion a little bit. Just bring down the input on the interface. We're going to turn down the pod go a little bit, so we're in the right. I think that's a little too much gain. I'm going to go back into the Ampeg, and I'm going to turn the EQ on, and I'm going to pull out some of that super low end, probably about 5 dB, around 33 hertz. I'm going to give it a little 2K. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the top end of the bass guitar to blend into the bottom end of my regular distorted guitars. We're not going to be tuned that low. And I'm going to give it maybe a little 150. And maybe a little thump around 80. Turn the bright on. Nope, don't like it with the bright on. I like it with the ultra high. Let's see what the ultra low sounds like. Sounds good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the cabinet over. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to grab another dynamics pedal. Because what I like to do is I like to compress the bass a little bit going in. So it's not super dynamic. It's still got some dynamics, but not super. And then afterwards, just squeeze the living hell out of it so you get a consistent bottom end. So with this one, I'm probably going to use the LA Studio comp again. But let's try, just for shits and giggles, let's try to... Well, you don't sound great, do you? I haven't used this pedal before, and I don't think I'm gonna. I don't like it. Nope. Skip the red squeeze. Not a fan. Let's check out the Rochester. That's okay. No. We're going back to it. LA Studio. And really, the settings that are on it are really good. I'm just going to go with a little more peak reduction. This doesn't pop out so much. You see how it's less dynamic? And then we're going to bring up the gain a little bit. Just to bring the level back up a hair. I think I want a little bit more high mid-range in the tone. So let me give it some mid. Nope. Podgo direct in interfaced using stock IRs. All right, let's see what that sounds like. So we're going to save that real quick. Save it to where it is. I'm going to call this, for shits and giggles, con bass. I can explain snapshots. I will get to that just after I record this bass part. And then we can talk about snapshots. Go back and make sure you set your input on your interface. Now I got to remember the damn riff I played. It's been like a half hour. I forgot. All right, cool. I'm going to record that again because I don't like how I played it. Ooh, what the? That was weird. So, let's see what that sounds like. Clean that up a little bit. So the next thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to group my guitars. If I can remember how to do that in Pro Tools. Just so that I could adjust their volume. Oh, you bastard. Hold on. Okay, so that's interesting. Oh, I see why. Okay. See? Even guys that kind of know what the hell they're doing fuck up from time to time. Yeah, fuck it. We're not going to get into that advanced shit, so I'm just going to bring the guitars down a little bit. Probably that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a master bus. Fuck that up. Most DAWs have this already built in, but in Pro Tools it's not already built in. So you don't have to normally worry about this step. So I'm going to go over here. Put a little bit of compression on this, the whole mix. Unarm those tracks. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to tweak the drum kit a little bit. I'm just going to bring up the kick. That fill is so shitty. But whatever. It gives you guys the idea. It's so bad. What's up, Johnny Pockets? Oh, but it gives you guys the basic idea. Okay? So you get a basic idea how this all gets set up. So this is basically the way we do it in the real thing. You know? Of course, all the drums are normally separated out over multiple tracks. This is just, some drum program. Addictive Drums. I kind of really, one of my favorite drum programs because it doesn't sound like every other drum program on the planet. Now, as far as that bass tone, I think it needs some additional EQ. Just need some presence. So for those of you that don't know how this works, this is what's called the parametric EQ. what you can do is you can adjust the frequency bands. So, I mean, that bass is good enough for what we're doing today, to give you that idea. So this is all direct, but there's some manipulation we're obviously doing a little bit after the fact. So this is a parametric EQ. Now the difference between a parametric EQ and like a graphic EQ is the graphic EQ, the EQ bands are fixed. So they're preset at a specific frequency. With a parametric EQ, if you look here, like with something like this, that's the gain, that's the amount you're boosting or cutting, okay? And then you can select the frequency in which you want to boost or cut. The Q control is how wide around that frequency you're going to boost or cut. So if I turn this one off real quick, you can see. So right here we have a 1 kilohertz right here. It's listed as 1 kilohertz, okay? And the gain is 8.1 dB. So we can set that back to 0 so it's flat or close to 0. You can punch it in, okay? And then we're going to set it at 1K. So that's 1,000 hertz, okay? And then you're going to set your Q to 0, okay? So right now with a 0 Q at 1,000 hertz, you get a hump that's that big, okay? Now if you watch, as we move this up, that hump will get smaller. This is what's called the Q. So it's basically how big the frequency curve is. It's the easiest way to put it. So there's a parametric EQ inside the Pod Go. It's I believe it's a 3-band, right? Hold on. Let's look real quick. So we'll go over to the Pod. And yeah, that's a crappy screen to be looking at. My camera can't get that high resolution on that one. Okay? So give me a break. But if we go, actually, let's take a look over here. Let's go here. And then we'll go into Pod Go Edit. And we're just going to grab the EQ block for shits and giggles. I'm going to set it to parametric. It's already set to parametric. So if you look at the frequency, how many frequencies you have here, you have a low frequency, a mid frequency, high frequency, and then a low or high cut. So you have a 3-band parametric with a low and a high cut. So let me show you what low and high cut does so you can visualize it and see it on the screen. So this is a 7-band parametric. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 normal bands here. So you have the red band, the orange, the yellow, green, blue. So each one of these are areas you can boost and cut frequency and do whatever you want to do. Okay? So this is an important thing you guys should know. Parametric EQs are amazing because you can get things, you can adjust specific frequencies. So this is the low cut frequency right here. It's called the high pass filter. Okay? On this, it's called a high pass filter, but a high pass filter and a low cut filter are basically the same thing. So this is your Q. This is how steep the curve is. Okay? And then right here is the frequency at which you're going to low cut. Okay? So as you can see, it's cutting out all the bass frequencies. And then you can adjust how strongly against that wall you can adjust. Okay? High works in the same way. So if you put the high on, you set it really high, and then you pull it down, it cuts out high frequencies. So one of the things that's kind of recommended with Pod Go is to go into the global EQ, turn on your low filter, and then set it to 80 hertz. Unless you're playing bass. If you're playing bass, don't do this. Leave it alone. And then at the top end, you want... Wrong button. Sorry. You want to pull this down to about 8K. Then you want to engage. So you want it to kind of look like that without this. So how do we do that in Pod Go? So there's 2 ways you can go about doing it. Okay? You can go into Pod Go Edit, and you can go into Windows and go into Global EQ, and you can adjust it like so. Set that to 80 hertz. Set this one to 8K. So as you can see, this works the same way the other EQ I was just showing you in Pro Tools works. So you have a gain knob, which ups and downs. That's the amount you're going to boost or cut. And then you have the Q control, which is how narrow that frequency band is. See? And then if we open up the Q, it gets bigger. Make sense? Hope so. So you could do it this way in Podgo Edit. If you don't use Podgo Edit, then what you can do is you can do this. We're going to go to the pod screen. Okay. Well, real quick, we'll go to this. What you're going to do is you're going to hit both page buttons. Okay. And then right here, the bottom button, that says Global Settings. Go into your Global Settings. And then, I hit the wrong button. Sorry. Double preset, one next to it, Global EQ. This is the one you want. Sorry, I'm so used to going into Global Settings. And then you're going to have frequency bands that you can adjust. As you can see, I'm using this top knob to scroll between the frequencies. So the low cut, you can come over here, just set it to 80 hertz, right here. Use this knob right here. And then we go all the way to the right. And set that one at 8.0. Yeah, it's kind of tough to read, but that's 8.0. That's on the high cut. And then on the low cut, it's set at 80 hertz. Now, what the Global EQ is good for is the Global EQ is a great thing to have for when you're like playing at a new venue. Okay? So if you're running your Podgo direct to front of house, you're listening to it back through, the monitors that are on the stage. When you're setting up your amp and your guitar, if it's too boomy, you can go into the low cut and you can mess with it that way, or you could take out bass in the Global EQ. It doesn't mess with your presets. So it's additional EQ you have over the entire unit, which is really, really, really nice. So that's what I recommend you use the Global EQ for. It's just those last fine little tuning little things when you move from venue to venue or place to place or amp to amp or however you're plugging your Podgo in. Just to make it sound all your presets so that you don't have to go in and tweak each individual preset. It's just an overall Global EQ for the whole unit. It's really a great thing to have. So we had a question about snapshots. So let me explain snapshots to you guys real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to, I'm going to save this. Save that. And then we're going to go back to my regular, I got to remember which preset it is. Hold on. I think the Luke preset has snapshots in it. Let me double check. Yes. Okay. So this is my Luke 1021 preset, which is basically based on Steve Lukather's rig. It's available on the Line 6 Marketplace. Pimp some of my shit. Okay, so let me go over to Podgo and I will show you snapshots. So as you can see right now, we're in snapshot mode. To get in and out of snapshot mode, you press both of these buttons. That puts you into, come on, do what I want you to do. See, that's snapshots. That's preset mode. So these are different presets. But then you can go into snapshot mode by pressing the up and down arrows at the same time. That puts you in the snapshot mode, and you'll see these little cameras on the screen. Okay? So what a snapshot allows you to do is save settings on a preset that you can quickly access. So on this particular preset, like I have the straight rhythm sound. In my second I don't remember what the presets are. So I don't remember what the snapshots do. I made this like 6 months ago. So bear with me for a second. Okay, so this snapshot, what it does is it lowers the gain on the amp, and then it... Well, I don't want that change. Okay. I changed my cabinet. Hold on. Okay. So what it does is it turns on the... If you look here, you can see that what it's doing is it's turning this pedal on and off. That's an overdrive before the amp, just to tighten up the low end. Then I have another snapshot that's going to turn on the EQ and the delay. So that's the regular snapshot. And then this button with one press because it's a snapshot. It turns on the overdrive, the delay. So what you can do with snapshots is you can edit the parameters of any of the pedals you're using or any of the amps, cabs, whatever you're using. And you can save that to, basically it's a preset within a preset, okay? You can't change amps. You can't change pedals. You can change IRs. And you can change the settings on any of the pedals or amps or blocks that you have that you're using. And then number 4 adds, I think it's a chorus. Yes, that is a chorus. So as you can see, with a single press of a button without changing presets, I have access to 4 different sounds within this preset. So normally when you're changing presets, so if we go back to preset mode, so I'm going to switch between the dirt setting and the clean setting, or just another preset so you get the idea. You see how you get that little millisecond or whatever it is that you have no audio? That's changing presets. But within a snapshot, you can change the pedals, the parameters that are set within the preset to whatever you want. So in this particular one, if we go into snapshot mode, I have just straight up the amp on its own. And then this adds an overdrive to the amp. You see what kind of cleans up the low end a little bit? So it's real woolly right there. Then when we turn the overdrive on, it kind of cleans that up a little bit. So it also adds a little bit of hair to the top end. Then when we go here, you add the EQ. So what the EQ does, if you look inside the preset, what we're doing here with the EQ is we're boosting the level 1 dB just to give it a little bit of, so it's like a lead sound. It's a little louder than the rhythm sound. So that's basically what Snapshot is. So for soloing, like this is a perfect example of that. Okay, so what I do is I have this, you'd have the standard setup, okay, your rhythm sound. Yes, Johnny, exactly. You can add them afterwards. So let's go back to, so right here is the perfect example. I can't tell what your name is because you're typing on Facebook. It doesn't tell me, unfortunately. So whoever asks, how would you create a lead boost preset snapshot for soloing? So what I would do is I take your regular rhythm sound We'll use this preset's perfect example. And then inside that preset, this is what I do to make changes to make it a lead preset. So if you look at the second snapshot here, I have an EQ that's boosting the level. You can go more than 1 dB if you want. I'm going to go 2 now so you can really hear the difference. So I'm going to set that to 2 dB, and I'm going to save again. So you hear the volume come up first. So it gets a little bit louder. And then what I do is I turn on the delay. Okay? So that's just a bypass inside the snapshot. Turn on the delay. And you can actually set, I'm going to set the scale to 100%. I'm going to make that a little faster. So here's another cool trick that some of you might not know. So on your simple delay or any of your delays, you can set the time to be either subdivisions or a note or in milliseconds. Just press the button, the first button, and you can set it between, like right now it's set to quarter notes. So if I tap quarter notes, it's going to give me that. If I set it to eighth notes, it'll double what I just tapped. Set it to 16th. So you can set that real slow. Almost gives you that doubling effect. So I like to set it to quarter notes because I like it to be exactly what I tap. But that gives you the basic idea. So what I like to do, and then another thing you could do, which some people like to do, depending on the amp you're using for the solo boost. Some amps are real scooped in the mid-range. So what you could do is you could go into your EQ, okay? And what I would do, this is set up as simple EQ. So what I would do is I would actually change this to a graphic. Go 10-band graphic. Up my level, so leave that the way it is for now. Press and hold the first button to change it for the snapshot. So when you make changes to snapshots, you press and hold the button down that you're editing. So we're going to turn that up to 2 dB. So that's going to be locked into this snapshot. So if you look, if we go to the first snapshot, it sets the level to 0. We go to the second snapshot, now it's 2 dB louder. Then we're going to go back, and the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up the 4K to give it a little bit more presence. Probably go 2 dB on that too. So now the EQ changes as well. So setting up the actual snapshot itself. So what you're going to do is you're going to select the snapshot you want to change it to. So if you wanted C to be your lead preset, you press C. You go in and you make your changes. You turn on whatever pedals you want on and off. Okay? So we're going to turn the lead pedal on. We're going to put it at quarter note. Then we're going to go over to the EQ pedal. We're going to press and hold, set this to 2 dB. Set that to 2 dB. Make all the changes you want to make. So in this one also, we turn the overdrive on. So turn that off, turn that back on. Okay, and then you save your preset. Once that's saved, when you go back to A, all of those pedals are off. All the changes you made are back to normal. Just the normal preset. And then when you hit the snapshot, you get all those changes that you made. Does that make sense? Oops. So, any other questions? So let's go in here real quick, and we're going to lay down a bullshit lead over this. We're going to use this Steve Lukather preset that I got going on. It's audio track, correct? I'm going to create an audio track. Okay. I'm going to slide up above my master. For me personally, I think the amps and the preamps inside the Pod Go are good enough to run into the return. I run mine personally from the left main out of the Pod Go into the return of my amp. That's the way I run it. Unless, of course, I'm running fully direct. With one of my bands, I run fully direct. And then the other band I'm in, I use a real amp on stage with the Pod Go. You can use 4-cable method too. So if you want to use the preamp of your amp as well, if you have a good amp. I mean, if you look, I got some pretty decent, the Friedman's not here, but, I got my EVH. What side is what? I got an EVH Marshall with a Marshall cab. I got, you can't see them. Hold on. I got a little LBX. You can't really see over here. EVH with two EVH 2x12s. That I put Celestion V30s in. Not Greenback 25s, V30s. Plus I have, back here, I got my Helix. I got an HX Stomp as well. So, I have many options for when I want to do stuff. 4-cable method is great when you want to use the preamp of your amp. Like I have the EVHs, and I used to run 4-cable method so I could use the preamps of my EVH. In addition, I could use the tones of my EVH in addition to the preamps in the Pod Go. It's a great way for the Pod Go to be able to get clean and dirty. So what you can do is you can set up a clean preset, and then inside that clean preset, you can put the EVH in the loop with 4-cable, and you can switch between dirty and clean. So that's a really cool option. You won't be able to get multiple dirty amp tones unless you do a dirty amp and the Pod Go, depending on what you're playing. If you're playing straight up metal, you don't use clean tones, you can do it that way too. Then you can have like a Friedman and the EVH, or the EVH or the 5153 and a regular 5150, or even the new diesels. Well, the diesels aren't in Pod Go yet. I shouldn't have said that. Hint, hint. I have it on good authority. We may get diesels. So be happy. Other than that, so it's really up to you how you want to do it. I don't mind with the Pod Go because I don't use the Pod Go as my main thing when I'm playing live. I use the Helix obviously because I have a Helix, but I don't mind the little in between patch change stuff. You get that little minuscule millisecond of no sound in a live situation. You don't notice it. Just make sure you hit before the change so the sound happens on the change. That's all you really got to do. But it's totally up to you however you want to use it. There is no wrong way to use a Pod Go unless you plug it into a head rush. I just hate the way the head rushes sound. I can't stand it. Drives me crazy. Go buy a power cab. They sound way better. I haven't gotten enough questions to have a new fuck you yet. I haven't gotten enough questions. I got like 2 questions. It's not long enough of a video. If you have questions, post them in the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/podgousers. Go post your questions, and then I can add them to fuck you. That's the reason I haven't done it, because I don't have enough questions yet. The group's actually been kind of slow recently, and I get it's probably because it's the holidays. We'll probably ramp up after Christmas when everybody gets their new Pod Goes. All the new people get them. But right now, it's been pretty slow with Thanksgiving and blah, blah, blah. The GT100 was okay. So we got a question about the Boss GT100. What are your thoughts on the Boss GT100? The Boss GT100 was cool. I wasn't a fan of the Cosm amp modeling. Never have been. You know, I don't think for what they are, the rolling cube amps with the Cosm modeling sound good. But the GT100 for me just didn't cut it. It doesn't sound like a real amp. I think HD500 and Firehawk sound way better than the GT100 personally. The effects in the GT100 are really good, but Podgo blows this all away. You know, blows it all away. The fact that you can have Helix level amp modeling in a processor that's $450 is really hard to beat. I got a buddy that I mess with, this guy Tom, on Facebook all the time. You know, he's an Axe Effects guy. He's got an Axe 8. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, dude, anytime you want to put your fractal up against my Pod Go, I'm ready. Just let me know when. Because the amp modeling in this thing is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, the Guitar Dungeon. Talking about levels going into. So how are you recording with your Pod Go? Are you plugging USB in or are you plugging into an interface? That's the question. Because there's two things you can do to fix this depending on how you're running it. So that's the big question. So you're running via USB. So there's a couple things you can do. So we'll just take a look at this preset real quick. So let me go to that. Actually, we're going to go to the pod screen. I know it looks like crap, but it is what it is. And let me see if I can get this. There we go. That's a little better. So, if inside your preset, okay, you go into edit mode, okay, if you scroll all the way to the right here, there's an output level. You can turn this up and down. To adjust the level of your Pod Go. Okay? So that's one way. The other way, if I remember this properly, so bear with me. If you go into global settings, okay, inside your global settings, right here, there's a main out level, there's instrument and line. Set it to line level. In addition, there is a USB trim that you can use to adjust the volume as well. So between those three things, you can get a loud enough volume. If you're using a regular interface, if you're coming from the out like I have set up here, you're coming from, I can't really see it, but you're coming from, let me see if I can move this without breaking shit. If you're coming from the output of your Pod Go, this cable right here, to the input of your interface, first thing you do is you're going to set your Pod Go to max volume. Okay? I don't want to hear this bullshit about it sounds better when it's 3/4. It sounds better when it's 1/4. It sounds better when... Shut up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Just turn it the fuck up. Then set the level on your interface. So you crank this bad boy up so it's all the way up. And then you go into your interface. I'm trying to remember what my camera's on. And then you adjust it on your interface. So it's not clipping. That's going to give you the best signal and noise ratio. If it's still too low at that point, or you're getting too much noise into your interface. So if you crank it up, you hear all that? If you're getting too much of that, because your interface is up too loud, what you can do is same thing. Go into your global settings. Okay. So, damn it. Get over here. Ah, there we go. So go into your global settings, press both page buttons, go into your global settings, okay? And you're going to adjust where it says line on inputs and ins and outs, set line to set your main out level to line. Not instrument, line. Use instrument if you're going into the front of a guitar amp. The front of a guitar amp. Like if you're plugging into the input on the front of the amp, which you should never do because it makes your pod go sound like crap. But I didn't say that. Some of you guys don't have a choice. Okay, let me rephrase. In high gain settings, if you're doing like, if you're using the pod go for like just some verb and delay and like a boost to your actual amp, it's fine. Okay? So set your main out to line level, and then you should be good to go. So that takes care of that. Depending. I mean, some IRs are louder than others. You can crank up the volume on the cab as well. So we have another question, which is, hey guys, I'm new to Pod Go. Only had it for a week or two, but the first issue I ran into was recording direct to my DAW. When I have it working, but when I want to record over a backing track, I hear no backing track audio. Okay, this is the reason. So if you use a Pod Go as an interface, you need to set up your headphones, and you need to have direct monitoring turned on. So you have to go into whatever DAW you're using and make sure you have direct input monitoring turned on, and you have the backing track turned up on your DAW. You also have to make sure your DAW is using the Pod Go as the interface. So in every DAW it's different, but in Pro Tools it looks like this. You'd go into Setup, Playback Engine. You're gonna crash on me, aren't you? Because it's Pro Tools. Okay. So right now I'm using Focusrite. You can see it says Focusrite USB ASIO. So what you'd do is you would set this to ASIO Pod Go, and then you would hook up your headphones to your Pod Go or your studio monitors to the left and right out, and then you're good to go. That'll let you play back what's in your DAW and listen to what you're playing on your Pod Go at the same time. So that takes care of that for you, Bert. If you got any other questions, feel free to hit me up on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, Jason Constantine. It's facebook.com/official Jason Constantine. Well, there's also facebook.com/Jason Constantine official. One's my page, one's my actual Facebook profile. Either way will work. And then I crank up the volume also, Facebook user posts. You crank up the volume also through Major Studio to make sure monitoring is on. I'm using Reaper. Okay. I like to keep my preset out levels the same. I noticed if I boost a quiet IR, it boosts all of them. Yes, it will do that. Because that's the output level of the block, not the output level of the actual IR. So I usually tend not to turn the boost on. You adjust the level on the IRs. I kind of leave them the way they are. It's on a case-by-case basis. I also try not to, well, I can't say that because I do change IRs, but all my IRs are the same volume, so I'm okay. I just adjust it in the preset wherever it needs to be adjusted, you know. Because remember, with snapshots, you can go in and do whatever you need to do, and with presets, you know, you have a whole new DSP block to do whatever you want, you know. So do we have any other questions? I've been an hour and a half at this point. I wanted to make this an hour, but it's an hour and a half now. If you guys want to go a little longer, I want to record a lead. You guys are killing me. Let me record a lead. All these questions. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to record a lead over this. Now, what I'm doing with this, normally what I would do is I would turn off all the effects. Okay? Reason being, because that's how we do it in the real studio. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to turn off the EQ I'm going to leave on, because I want that boost. And I'm going to turn the delay off. So I just have a dry signal. And then you can add effects in post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a delay to this in Pro Tools. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to find a delay. that I want to use. I'm going to use H delay because I like H delay. So we're going to set that wet almost 50%. I'm going to turn the feedback way down so I get 4 repeats. I'm going to go a little bit, a hair more. Yep, there we go, 4 repeats. I'm going to set it to quarter inch. Quarter inch. Quarter note. You're not talking about your penis, Jay. You're talking about... Turn the analog off. So we're going to go in here and we're going to record a solo. Just over this track real quick. What are you doing? Back to the beginning of the track. Thank you. Hated that. Every second of it. So we're going to do it again. What is up? See, this is what happens when you don't play for a half hour and you just talk. Not even warmed up. Wow, I am blowing dogs today. Really bad. Let's try this again. Not liking any of this. I know why I'm having the problems, because I'm recording it with delay on it. I'm really not used to doing that. And I'm also hearing the latency. It's driving me crazy. Yeah, we'll get old Floyd Rosie on that bad boy. So then after the fact, we'll go in. You grab your delay plugin. I really like the H delay. This comes through, this is a Waves plugin. Set this to quarter note. Set it just so you could barely hear it. God, this lead is so bad. But it gives you guys the idea. See, this is what happens when you do shit off the cuff and you don't pre-prep it. I never pre-prep any of my videos. Ever. I do them live in OBS because I don't have time to do editing and blah, 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 and all that crap. And this is what happens. You wind up with a shitty sounding lead. This is what happens. But I don't care. It's not about playing ability. It's about teaching you guys how to do shit in PodGo. So we got a couple other questions that have come in. How would I match levels between dirty and clean presets? There is no tool that's going to help you do this. No matter what anybody says, I don't care. I did a video on this. You can't use a VU meter. You can't use a level meter. You can't do any of that because bass frequencies, if you have more bass frequencies in your clean preset than your dirty preset, and you set the volumes the same, the clean preset is going to sound lower than your dirty preset because bass frequencies on a meter equal volume. Meters are VU meters. Voltage units. It's not volume units. There's really no, you just have to do it by ear. You have to go in and tweak your presets. So there's a way to do that without affecting the tone of the preset. I'll show you how to do that. So if we go back to the PodGo screen, which you can barely see because my camera sucks, you can go in edit mode. Okay, so that's home mode. Press the home button again, edit mode. Go to the very last block. It's your output main volume. Then you have a level control on the second button. You have a level control right here on the second button that you can adjust the volumes on every preset. This output volume is per preset. Or per snapshot. You can also do it per snapshot. So you don't have to mess with the volumes of the amp. You actually go in and just mess with the volumes of the preset itself. Do I have any recommendations for bass settings in PodGo for a bass preset? So for what kind of music? Because if you're going to play metal, I'm going to tell you to put distortion. If you're not playing metal, I'm not going to tell you to put distortion. They're each going to compress differently. There isn't like a global... There isn't a global, oh, this bass sounds great preset. There's no such thing. The one thing you should avoid with bass guitar is you should, with just about any instrument, is you want to be careful of like the between 350 and 500. Those are the boxy, woolly frequencies that don't sound very good. You also want to be careful around between 2 and 4K because that's where everything starts to kind of sound boxy. So that's a big thing too. That 300, that 350, yeah, like 300 to like 600. Now, I'm not saying put an extreme like, Metallica V curve scoop, but you can scoop that out a little in the bass guitar. So for metal hard rock, basically just like what I built. Okay, so let's go back to this real quick, and if you look at where did I just put that preset? Con bass. So if you look at what I'm running here, this is basically what you're asking for. Okay. So first thing I have in the chain is the LA Studio Comp, just to tame a little bit of the peaks, especially if you play with your fingers. You want to even it out a little bit. If you've been playing with your fingers for a long time, then you probably don't need this compressor up front because you have that natural touch thing in your fingers. The next thing I do is I like the Obsidian 7000 as a distortion. So this is basically the dark glass, what do they call it? Micro BK7, BK7 Ultra, something like that. It's, in my opinion, way better than a Sans amp. Sans amp is a little too mid-range heavy for me for hard rock. I like the Obsidian because you can get that nice scoop in the 500. So if you look right here, look what I've done. I've set the EQ on the low mid frequencies to 500, and I've taken them all out. There's nothing there. Nada. I gave it a little bit of a boost at 1.5K. I have the grunt set to boost. The drive is about 4.6. Level is 6.9. So what you get, grabbing the bass again. Turn the delay off because I'm still on that channel in Pro Tools. I play with a pick. So as you can hear, it has that distortion in it. That's what it sounds like normally. Then you bring in the gain. It's just blended in there slightly. And then I'm using the Ampeg SVT4. Some of you might know that song. So if you look here, my amp settings are, see, this is another thing with the Podgo. Don't tweak the amp too much. The sound of the amp is the sound of the amp. This is a very important thing. I got to get into this real quick because it's really important. Don't try and make a Fender sound like a JC120. Don't try to get a 5150 to sound like a rectifier. Don't get a Marshall to try and sound like a 5150. Use the right amp for the application you're going for. This is a very important thing. The right speaker, the right amp, and the right microphone are 95% of your tone. From there, tweak the amps slightly. So if you look at all of these amps, they're not super tweaked. Like on this bass preset. I know I wanted the sound of the SVT, but I wanted it a little more modern, so I went with the SVT4 Pro. So if you look at the controls here, all the controls are set at pretty much 5 o'clock. Channel volume's up, master volume's at 5. I have the ultra low turned on. I have the ultra high turned on. And then if you look into the EQ, I have some specific stuff going on in the graphic EQ section. I got a boost at 2K. Everything else, a little bit of a boost. Oh, yeah, I got boost at 2K. That can be set to 0. That doesn't make a difference. That's a little bit down, half a dB at 900 hertz. I got the 5 dB dumping all the low end because if I put that in, it sounds like a woolly mess. So we pull that out. Adds a bunch of clarity. But Jason, how do I know what amp I want to use? When you're setting up your tone, scroll through the different amp models. Literally go in and scroll through amp models till you find something that's close to the sound you have in your head. Once you find that amp, then you can go in and you can do little minor EQ tweaks on the EQ section of the amp, and maybe with EQ blocks. I rarely use EQ blocks in any of my presets. So if you look at most of the presets I have, okay, like my main rhythm sound right here is one you could look at. Right? It's got an EQ in it, and it's got this little bit, look how tiny that little boost is at 2K. Just a little bit. It's pulling some of the low end out just to tighten up the signal. And it's after the amp. If you look at the amp controls, you know, it's not extreme. You know, even my clean setting. My clean setting doesn't have an EQ in it. The EQ's turned off. I have a sitar setting that has some EQ stuff to get the tone that I want because it's a special effect. If you look at my Jakey Lee preset, no EQ. The Luke Clean preset has a little bit of some EQ stuff in it. The Luke has it because this is used as a volume boost. This is the Jeff Duncan preset. Look at those minor little EQ tweaks. And those EQ tweaks were made just so that when he plugged into his actual amp, that Con preset will be available after the stream. Give me about a half hour, 45 minutes. I'll post it up on a Custom Tone so you guys can download it. Or maybe I should make you download it from my website. Nah, I'll put it up on Custom Tone. It's fine. I have a Gent bass preset that's got some extreme because it's modern. My Nuno Betancourt preset. It doesn't have an EQ in it because I'm using the amp that gives me the tone that I want. The Huwatt preset that I did, no EQ. The Supro preset, no EQ. That's a stock. I don't think that's what I'm on. I don't know. Different stuff. My EVH preset. Yeah, I know, because I don't have it imported. No EQ. I don't do EQ. Even on my big Helix presets, I don't do that stuff because I find the right amp for the job. That's the most important thing. The right amp and the right cabinet. It's really important. Oops, shouldn't have done that. It's really important to find the right amp and the right cabinet. So don't worry about being quick to dial in a preset. Worry about your preset being right. Find the right amp that you want to use. Find the right speaker cabinet that sounds right to your ear with that amp. So bring up an amp, okay? Then go into the cab IR section and go through the different IRs and cabs till you find one that's close to the sound in your head. Then you only have to do little minor tweaks to the preset in order to get the sound that you want. I see some of these Helix presets, and it's like they got 8 EQ blocks because they're boosting this and they're using a Marshall to try and get it to sound like a rectifier. You're using the wrong amp. Use the right amp for the job. How do you know what the right amp is? There's 2 ways you can do that. You can scroll through the amps, pick the one that you want, or you can go look up some of the guys whose tones you're trying to replicate. There's a website called Equipboard. I covered this in my first FAQ U. I have a series that I'm working on called FAQ U. It's an FAQ. If you have questions, go to our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/podgousers, and you can submit questions to be on the next FAQ U. You can go to my YouTube page, youtube.com/Jason Constantine Official, right? I think that's it. Or official, I think it's Jason Constantine Official. Or it's just Jason Constantine. I don't remember. I'm so good at promoting my own shit. Just look for Jason Constantine on YouTube. You'll find me. But yeah, go to equipboard.com. Type in the artist whose tone is close to what you want. Then look at the gear that they use. I can show it to you. Hold on. And I'm just letting you all know, it's 11. I've been doing this 2 hours, and my breakfast is still sitting here. You're making a fat guy skip breakfast. This is bad. So, let me show you this real quick. So, you can go to... let me pull a browser window up here. Okay? You can go to Equipboard. Okay? And you can type in the artist. So, let's say you want to do... I don't know. You want to do Volbeat. I'm picking a random artist. Okay? And you want to know what Michael uses. So you're going to go in here. Get off my face. So it's going to tell you the guitars he uses. Okay? So you can select guitars, and then it lists all the guitars he uses. It lists the amplifiers he uses. So he's a Marshall 800 guy. okay, with a tube screamer. So there you go. So you go into your Podgo, you pull up a Marshall 800. You can look up the cabinets. Does he have cabinets? No cabinets listed. So it's probably standard Marshall cabs, probably with 75s or V30s, because that's what Marshall makes their cabs with. Let's see. Does he talk about? No. Oh, this is a gear rundown. So let's see.
We got an occasion. That's it.
Oh, I'm gonna get demonetized because I just played Volbeat on my stream, but it's okay. So go buy some IRs. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, you can go to Equipboard. You could look up any guitar player. Some are listed, some are not. Like if you want to do Steve Vai, I mean everybody knows what Steve Vai uses, but just to get the idea. So you could go in all his Ibanez Gem guitars. You can go into amplifiers. You can look up the different amplifiers he's used and the different stuff that he's had set up. You can look into all that stuff. It's all here. Do they have the derivative effects pedals? The microphones that he uses, it's all here. Or you can just go to all and then scroll through everything. So this is a really, there are way more than 3 presets of mine on Custom Tone. If you type in Jason Constantine with no spaces, all of my presets will come up. I got tons of them. I also got a bunch on my website, jasonconstantine.com. I have custom IRs up on the marketplace as well and on my website for purchase if you guys want to look at that. Right now, all of my IRs, Black Friday till December 1st, are 75% off. I have a $100 IR pack with 100, I think it's 120 IRs. I think it's 120. Hold on, I can tell you exactly how many it is. With Mega IR pack. It's got 111 different impulse responses in it. Right now, it's $25. Use the promo code NONEMOREBLACK with a capital N, a capital M, and a capital B at checkout, and you can get my $100 IR pack, which with 111 IRs. It's less than $1 an IR. For $25. It's less than a quarter an IR. Less than 25 cents a piece. I got other ones up there. I got little packs, too, that are like $4.99, $9.99, $6.99, depending on what you want to use. I got Bogner's. I got every guitar cabinet imaginable with multiple speaker configurations. And it's all there. There are demos up on my YouTube. You can listen if you want to go check those out, too. So those are pretty cool. Other than that, I think I prayed. Are there any other questions before I get the hell out of here and go to eat my breakfast? I'm 3 minutes till 2 hours, and I'm going to cut it at 2 hours. It's been a long one, but it's been cool. We all learned a lot. There's been cool shit. You guys have had great questions. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Podgo users. Give me a subscribe. You join the Facebook group. I have a IR pack with 21 impulse responses that you get for free. There's also a 50. I don't remember. It's not 50. I think it's 20 presets. With a 20 preset collection, I got cool stuff, like 50 style stuff. I got metal stuff. I got clean country stuff. I got all kinds of different stuff on there. So go check all that shit out. So one more time, any last questions? If you get them in the next 2 minutes, I'll answer them. Then we're getting the hell out of here. I'm going to sit here for 2 minutes. My wife is humming the Jeopardy theme. So no more questions? That's it? No love? No love? Thanks, guys, for coming in and hanging out. It's been awesome. I used to do these once a week, but I've been really busy recently studio-wise. I'm in pre-production for a couple records I'm working on. As I said before, I do the recording thing for a living. I've been doing it since 1996. I worked with a lot of artists that you guys have heard of. Linkin Park, some of the guys from Black Label Society, the guys from Ace Frehley's band, Armored Saint, Vinnie Moore, I did a bunch of stuff for Shrapnel Records, Jackie Vincent, who used to be in Falling in Reverse, and Cry Venom. You can look me up. You can go to discogs.com or allmusic.com, and you can look up two names, because I actually have two names. My real name is Jason Cohen, which is what I used to do with my hip-hop stuff. So you can look all that up, and all the jazz and blues stuff. And then Jason Constantine is the stuff I use for all my heavy rock and metal production. I just wanted to separate the two, because when I was getting started doing the hard rock and metal thing, if people saw that I worked with, jazz and hip-hop artists, they might not have hired me. It's cheesy. I know. But it is what it is. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. It's been awesome. It's been amazing. Check out my website, jasonconstantine.com. Check out our Facebook group, http://facebook.com/group/podgo users. Podgo users. Other than that, you guys have an awesome day. And if I don't see you beforehand, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Doesn't make a difference. We all love one another. It's all equal. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.